We are live. This is the market update. I am your host, Bill Noble. Is gold better than Bitcoin? No. Does gold represent some sort of strange leveraged problem in the system? Oh, yeah. Is NVIDIA going to blow up the world? Meaning, if you destroy the number one AI poster boy tech stock, does that wreck the world with illiquid Easter markets and the U.S. market closed tomorrow? Is Bitcoin the ultimate AI trade? This is something no one thinks about, and they should. We will go over AI 2027, something released by the guys who used to work at OpenAI, practically a science fiction novel, but not unrealistic, ironically, if they had the hardware. So everybody wants and needs those NVIDIA chips. And again, when it comes to Bitcoin, just can't believe everybody has packed it in on crypto to the point where someone is using the W word, winter. They're actually using the crypto winter world, the crypto winter word, with all the things that point towards crypto, particularly if you look at the endless macro analysis. Chinese losing control of their currency. The Japanese losing control of their bond market. We may have lost control of our bond market. It is amazing. Amazing how everyone has forgotten about what Bitcoin is really here all about. So if you want to hear about Bitcoin versus gold, you want to hear about NVIDIA, you want to get the macro scoop, and you want to find out whether or not it's crypto winter, I'll report. You decide. Stick around here. Now, YouTube member area, latest podcast has got picks for the future, stuff to buy the dip on, as well as, Toby's read on the future of stable coins and when the next big Bitcoin move could unfold. You want to check that out in the YouTube member area. Also, if you're watching this show and you don't have 5 cents, the best thing you can do for us is turn on the notification bell. We love the like button. We love you to be in Patreon, our middle tier offering, right? Where you get like coaching, podcasts, and things like that, where it's kind of like me talking directly to you almost, along with a chat where one guy actually saved all of our members a lot of money by warning everybody about OM LuxAlgo we'll talk about today, right? Looking at discount and premium zones on things like gold. And of course, don't forget the Bitcoin conference. I'm getting more and more and more convinced that there's going to be a massive out of the blue announcement because they're going to have to back treasury debt or government debt with Bitcoin to stop whatever's going on here because the cat's out of the bag. So check this out. All right, let's welcome who's here. Good day to you. Hello, Thomas. Ben B from Tampa. Long Glaze, a new name. Welcome. Patriot Caveman. Today's Tech Bites banging away with the McAfee emoji. McAfee AI video podcast is out. Forget about it. Cosmic Contrarian. Stefan, members. Quiet Don, welcome. Felix, DC Precise, welcome to the show. Hobby, Donato, let's go. Bobby Rock. Some new names in there. Welcome. All right, news. Let's go. Got a lot of good stuff today. All right, so economists, not historically the most accurate bunch of people in the world, now have 45% chance of a recession in the next 12 months. So just a brief word. A recession is a very outdated term, right? It's going to refer to negative GDP growth. I honestly don't think it applies to a tech economy. Frankly, I think if you want to terms about a psychological recession, we've been in one for 2 years. Like if you're a middle income person, if you're not long NVIDIA, then you've been in a recession for 2 years, right? So everybody has had to adjust their model to the price action. Everyone who's had to change their economic model because the stock market went down. The stock market hadn't gone down, nobody would be talking about a recession at all. So is there going to be a recession? I don't know. I doubt it. Are we going to have massively lower interest rates at some point? Yeah, we are. Because inflation has topped and Jerome Powell is done in so many ways. Now, he's not done in the sense that, if I may say so, and take the risk of doing so, it's never been more clear to me that Jerome Powell is a deep state operative. I swear. The guy completely ignored inflation. Rates were at 0. Inflation was at 5% 4 years ago, and he just completely ignored it. Said it was transitory. Crazy. Crazy. Now, with inflation headed for 0, right, because demand has been blunted dramatically, right? Now he's like, well, oh my God, the tariffs are going to create all these inflation. Okay. So you keeping rates at 4% is going to stop prices going up from tariffs? Like you couldn't stop, you didn't stop interest rates. You couldn't stop inflation with rate hikes. You never stopped it. The only thing that stopped inflation was when they cracked the stock market. That's what cracked inflation. And I said that all along, right? Who pays $25 for a steak at the grocery store? People who are long NVIDIA. You spank them, you stop inflation overnight. Voila. Meanwhile, economists looking for some sort of economic metric that's old. It doesn't necessarily apply to a purely digital world. It doesn't apply to a world with Bitcoin. It doesn't apply to a world with AI. There's more opportunity and things like that with AI. So yes, you could have a slowdown in certain areas, but that slowdown is what brings down inflation. So the recession conversation is, of course, the wrong conversation. Now, you want to have a problem, you want to have a conversation about something that's really going to bring interest rates down, it's housing. Goodness gracious, this is going to absolutely blow up. Housing starts fell more than 11% month over month in just March, with single-family housing starts dropping more than 14%, the biggest decline since April 2020. Single-family home construction is at the lowest level in 4 years. Housing is done. Dude, housing has been done for a while. Now, rather than an actual recession, what you may have changes in is employment, either AI-related job displacement or companies freaking out because the stock market went down. People lose their jobs. They're walking down to the bank, especially millennials who bought half the house for twice the price during the housing boom. If they lose their jobs, or frankly, they get worried that they're going to lose their jobs, they're going to rent an apartment, they're going to walk down to the bank, and they're going to turn in the keys. This and the fact that BlackRock is massively long all these single-family houses. I don't know if he's going to try to rent them out or what he's going to do with them. But, I mean, you got everyone long, everyone paying the wrong price, and no bid below. None. Who is good? Mortgage rates went to what? 7.5% on Uncle Sugar's latest tariff stunt. This brings rates to 0, I think, eventually, because housing just crashes. It just goes straight down. It's like an altcoin. Banks are going to have to start market selling houses. Builders or whoever has got inventory is going to have to market sell houses. And when you sell it to market and there's no bid, what happens? Kaboom. If there's a problem in the system, this is the problem in the system. For real. Okay, is crypto becoming the new gold? So everyone is watching this gold price go up. No one knows what it's all about. Everybody is jealous because crypto is not joining in. And we have to start asking ourselves whether or not the gold price is reflective of some kind of leveraged blow up. There's a leveraged blow up somewhere. It could be in the treasury bond market because you've had this odd trade with hedge funds go badly. Someone could be short gold, right? We'll talk about that in just a second. We could only hope that crypto is the new gold. And we'll talk about it more in depth. But, with NVIDIA's stock trading as bad as it is, I'm slightly worried about the Easter event, the holiday 20% move in crypto that we get every year. It could be to the downside. Now, that said, I can't believe that we can have the type of macro events that we can have and people not want to own Bitcoin. Like I'm becoming, in a way, like I'm not a Bitcoin maximalist, obviously, but the case for Bitcoin is so compelling. I think the only thing that's actually holding it from going to 120 is this macro stuff. It's almost like it's being suppressed. And, if we get lucky and there is either a rally or no decline over Easter, I think that bodes very well for Bitcoin because there's a problem in the system. Don't let people tell you that this gold rally is because of uncertainty. That's complete BS. That's complete BS. And, the Eagle King is also pointing out, I don't want to be a Bitcoin maximalist because Gary Gensler is a Bitcoin maximalist. And of course, no one likes him. Okay. Bitcoin loses allure to gold as economic concerns rise. So if you want to know who's short gold, it could be him, right? In other words, Zero Hedge is bringing up something called, I can't pronounce it, but it's a thing where you take your gold and you leverage it, you loan it out, right? And then when someone wants their gold, it's like FTX, like you used someone else's gold to take a leveraged position for yourself. And if that's what the Fed has done, or that's what some bank has done, oh my God, right? Okay, so a lot of guys that don't like Trump are getting super bearish. So Mike Novogratz, who is like, not a Trump fan, but happens to be in charge of a big digital hedge fund, is arguing that Bitcoin needs a stable market environment, okay, in order to thrive. It's not a bad argument. He's also saying that, the world has found its Minsky moment. Okay. Minsky is an economist who came up with this idea of a sudden collapse in asset prices, right, because of a prolonged period of speculative borrowing and over leveraging. Okay. It's basically a phenomenon that normally occurs in what they call emerging market countries. Now it could be happening here, which is why I think you're going to see a Bitcoin-backed treasury security in May. Bitcoin gold copycat move may top 150K as BTC stays impressive. So all this is telling you is what I've been telling you, that if Bitcoin ever got loose on the upside, it would go and not stop. I mean, what's more likely? Bitcoin goes down 30% and Michael Saylor gets liquidated, or someone wakes up and goes, oh my God, we have to get out of NVIDIA. We have to get out of tech stocks and we have to get into Bitcoin, right? We're just literally going to pray for, among other things, this weekend, because you should pray this weekend, right? Because we have Passover and Easter, right, in close proximity. Well, you should pray in general, and then you should also pray that Bitcoin holds it together if everybody else freaks out, okay? Now, if there's a risk to the system, the crypto system, it's this, okay? The Chinese may need to start selling crypto. Chinese may also need to start selling gold, for that matter, right? And the reason is because the Chinese demanded that the IMF stop publishing their reserve adequacy calculation for China and Hong Kong in 2019, because China doesn't have an adequate dollar reserve to operate their economy. Buckle up. The Chinese and Hong Kong currencies are about to get sporty, meaning the dollar is rallying and their currency is collapsing. Now, to keep it simple, what happens when there's less trade with China? They get less dollars. And if this guy, Kyle Bass, who runs a hedge fund and has been a China bear for literally 10 or 15 years, if the Chinese need the dollars from trade to help control their currency market, if they get fewer dollars, they could lose control of their currency. Now, what is the point of picking on the Chinese? Probably because we want to slow down their progress on AI. That would be a guess. In other words, why just wake up one day and goes, okay, we're picking on the Chinese today? Probably got to try to slow the Chinese down on AI because they may be ahead of us. And how do you slow them down? Well, you hand them a currency crisis. So it's not about like, oh, there's a tariff on this and there's a tariff on that. It's to try to deprive them of the dollars that they need to control their currency market. Because let me tell you something, folks. I know in crypto, we see crashes and we see all kinds of stuff, but there's nothing scarier than a currency crisis. Nothing, right? You know, governments start losing control of their currencies. You get wild stuff going on. Wild. Okay, XRP Army, it's over, right? The government, everyone has dropped the case. XRP ETF coming up next. Cross-border payments. Ironically, the banking system needs it so bad. All you have to do is shake the confidence in the banking system, and XRP is at $5. Matter of fact, I would argue that XRP may be a better idea than gold at this point. I know Bitcoin is. XRP and Ethereum could be as well. Because anything that makes banks more efficient, because banks are in trouble, you know they're in trouble. I mean, whoever sold all those OM tokens is in trouble. There's something out there. There's something out there in legacy. We just don't know what it is. Is it an NVIDIA blow up? Is it a gold blow up? Is it a treasury market blow up? It's out there, right? Somebody got in trouble who was doing business on OM with tokenized assets and launched. They've tried to explain that story. They're going to start burning tokens. They know what happened. They just can't say it. Because it could become some huge player. It could be some huge player, I don't know, like BlackRock or some giant hedge fund that got in trouble. We don't know. We don't. Also, a reminder, every time the stock market goes down 4%, they wipe out roughly $1.5 trillion. As a point of information, that is worth more than all of altcoins put together. So the stock market can move in one day. That magnitude is worth more than all of Web3. And it's amazing when you see this AI 2027 thing. When you see this AI 2027 thing, and you say to yourself, if machines proliferate the way these guys from OpenAI, this like think tank report, the way it proliferates, if you think that AI is not going to use blockchain rails to do things, it's incredible. It's incredible how long crypto can stay suppressed to the point where people are panicking and calling it crypto winter. Okay, so Apple, again, this is asset allocation out of equities, right? You know, obviously crypto needs equities to stop soiling itself. That would be helpful. But, you know, Apple gapped up on this whole idea that everything was going to be okay, and they just sold it, right? It's because Warren Buffett sold all his Apple stock, okay, at the top to retail. Okay, so gold hits 333. This is very bad news for any central banks like the Fed, who may have done this thing we referred to earlier, where you take someone else's gold, you do some kind of risky thing with it, and then that trade blows up, and then someone wants their gold back, which could be why we're bringing in gold. Like we can't stop bringing in gold for Switzerland. That was back when everybody was making the Fort Knox joke, which you'll notice no one is now making. Okay. Again, I understand that there could be a gold blow up. I also could understand that the Chinese may have to start selling gold to get dollars. It could go both ways. Bigger picture, whatever's going on in gold, whatever's going on with OM, and whatever's going on in long-dated government bonds worldwide is why Satoshi Nakamoto wrote the Bitcoin white paper. It is. And to tell me in this environment that ETH has no use case and ETH is going to zero, look, the ETH network was built to run all this stuff on. Like the networks to replace and thrive when all this hits the fan is in place, undervalued and given up for dead. Seriously, all these people calling for crypto winter, again, it's like the economists with the recession thing. They're just matching the price action to some kind of research thing because it's easier to say, yeah, it's crypto winter. I'm going on vacation for the holiday. Good luck with this. We'll see you in June. Now, who knows? It may be a boring summer. I don't know. But they may also announce the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve because I can't believe they're going to have that platform in Vegas and not use it. Bessent would be an idiot not to announce something at that conference. He would be a complete idiot. Okay, just as a reminder on the thing with gold, this word that I can't pronounce, rehypothecation, applies leverage in the financial system as the same gold can back multiple transactions. So every gold bar may have multiple owners or multiple leverage trades where it acts as collateral, potentially inflating the apparent supply of gold, etc. In other words, everybody that has gold doesn't have it. Scary. New whales are selling the least amount of Bitcoin. Shrimps, holders of less than 1 BTC, are leading the way by selling 480 Bitcoin a day. 480 Bitcoin a day being sold by small fries, retail, packing it in because the price action is horrendous. You look at it, it's so discouraging. Like I said, people have started talking about winter. Now, I don't know, probably the only deep state operative that still has a job, Jerome Powell, says the job market is really in a good place. Meanwhile, right, expectations of losing your job over the next 12 months spiked to 15%. Okay, you haven't seen this since 2020. It's not outside the normal range, but I don't think the job market is fine. I don't think it's a recession, but Powell will talk to you about inflation versus unemployment, right? He told you at the beginning of the panic tightening that, oh my God, the labor market was too tight. The labor market was too tight. The labor market was never tight. It was Uncle Sugar hiring everybody. Now, everybody in the labor market is afraid. A lot of people are afraid, right? And they should be, right? Now, is that a risk to overall economic growth? I don't think so. Not the bigger picture, because I think the bigger picture is held up by tech and AI. Now, could this affect housing? Oh my God, yeah. Oh my God, yeah. People start losing their job or people start freaking out. They're just going to turn in the keys. And this is going to put them behind the curve on lowering rates, is my larger point. They are more behind the curve on lowering rates than they were on raising rates, which is hard to believe. Because, wow, were they behind the curve on that? Holy cow. I mean, they have had at least 6 months to realize that, since the election, that when they pulled out the sugar from the government hiring, that, the employment picture and the inflation picture were both going to fall out of bed. This is known. It was announced. I mean, Elon on stage with a chainsaw. Thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people getting laid off right in their own backyard. Fed Chairman Powell says crypto is becoming mainstream and he loves stablecoins. Yeah, of course you do, bro. Because, you can have a private sector CBDC. Like, they won't do it, but they can still track you with a CBD, with a stablecoin. Of course, enhancing the need for privacy, right? Whatever Powell wants, you just give him the evil eye. Right? Oh, yeah, we like that. And the Russians are like, oh, yeah, we like that. And the Europeans are like, oh, yeah, we like that. I like Bitcoin and antivirus. That's me. But, like I said, you got to look skeptically at whatever this guy's talking about. You do. And the quote's coming up here. I think this is literally the dumbest thing that this guy has ever said. And that's saying something. Fed Powell says tariffs have a larger and more persistent impact on inflation than previously expected. What are you talking about? They just implemented the tariffs. And if you keep rates at 4%, what? You keeping rates at 4% is going to deter the orange man from trying to slow down China on AI or destabilize their currency as a distraction to really take them out to the woodshed? Are you serious? You got to be kidding me. You can't slow down inflation any more than you could slow down the price of eggs. But this is what we're listening to as an excuse to keep interest rates at least 100 basis points higher than they need to be. Right? And in some ways, the guy should have done this. The guy should have done this. He should have done it a long time ago. Now, I think if he did it today, it would look like there is something wrong in the system and he was panicking. In any case, both he and Bessent will be flooding the system with money, because if NVIDIA craters and there's leverage problems in the system that we can't see, they will be coming in. We discussed that on an earlier stream. They will be coming in. Like I can talk all the smack about this guy that I want to. Bessent will pick up the phone and be like, oh my God, there's a problem. And they will flood the system with money. And if I'm going to give this guy the benefit of the doubt, he's trying to not talk about cutting rates so he doesn't look like he's panicking, when perhaps he should be, right? Maybe there is something wrong in legacy that's terrible, and maybe that's the biggest reason for Bitcoin that there ever freaking was. Because everybody forgets that the Bitcoin white paper was released by, I don't know, I think an intelligence service. I think the Japanese intelligence service, personally, okay, in the wake of what happened in 2008, because they had to create a different form of money in case it ever happened again. And I don't know if it's happening again, but clearly someone's caught here. Someone is caught. We're just looking at gold and bonds, and we're looking at all this stuff going, oh, that's nice. Look at that. No. Powell, we think reserves are still abundant. Okay. Well, whatever this is, it's like the amount of money I think that they use to help support the banking system. Yeah, they're kind of out of money. That's what it feels like. And the net of all this is that even though this is a complicated metric, they have to flood the system with money. They have to flood the system with money, right? Retail sales soared most in 2 years as people panic buy cars. So anybody who can get approved for a car loan, which is not everybody, by the way, panic buys a car. Okay. So where does that put car sales in 6 months? Probably a lot lower. Again, everyone's being rejected for a car loan. The price of car loans has to come down, even if they have to issue a Bitcoin-backed treasury bond in order to do it. Because if you go back to the start of the stream, this Minsky moment, yeah, that's where people lose confidence in government bonds. And that just simply and plainly cannot happen. So they either got to flood the system with liquidity massively, or they got to back the bonds with Bitcoin. I know that's crazy. No one would ever say that except RFK a year ago or 2 years ago, right? So, yeah, all right. The Ruskins want their own stable coin. Wow, I'm gonna sleep much better at night. Fed Chairman Jerome Powell says U.S. economy is solid despite uncertainty. Powell, federal debt is not at an unsustainable level. Huh. That's kind of funny. What's that about? You know what I'm saying? There's a problem out there. Part of the problem could be Powell, but Powell can't tell the truth about anything. That's either because he's a deep state tool or there is actually something messy out there, which again brings me back. It brings me back to Bitcoin. It brings me back to Ethereum. It brings me back to networks that have been tested like Solana and even XRP, because we know XRP saves banks money, right? Anything that's battle tested, anything that has a use case. And I continue to believe, no matter what happens over Easter, if you can have OM go down 90%, you can have another crypto turn around and go up the same way. Seriously. You can have another crypto turn around and go up the same way once you find out what actually happened there. Okay. Orange Man says Fed Chair Powell termination can't come fast enough. You know what, bro? I don't blame you. It acts like they're not cooperating. I mean, they probably are cooperating, Bessent and Powell, in reality, but in public, I don't know. The optics, the conversation, frankly, it couldn't look worse. It couldn't look worse. Breaking news from the Eagle King. Okay, here we go. Gold outperforming stocks over the last 20 years has got to be one of the biggest surprises in finance. And the Orange Man says the ECB is expected to lower rates for the 7th time, and yet too late. Jerome Powell of the Fed, who is always too late and wrong, yesterday issued a report which was another typical complete mess. I mean, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. You know, the ECB just continues to cut and cut and cut and cut. I don't know, man. Also, breaking news from the Eagle King. All right. China's Plunge Protection Team is in for the 8th day in a row. Okay. They got massive problems over there. And there's talk that we're going to delist Chinese equities, which probably would be a good thing because Chinese equities, to a large part, frankly, are fake. According to Kyle Bass, right? I don't know if I can find it. Kyle Bass is out of Fort Worth, Texas. You know, he's an absolute savage, right? You know, a guy who would, here it is. We should have delisted Chinese stocks when the Communist Party of China refused to allow Western audits. Can you imagine how much fraud is hiding under these Chinese reported numbers? The Chinese listed entities in the U.S. are fantasy football shares at the Treasury Secretary. Holy cow. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you could pull the rug out from under those characters and it would be all over but the crying. Okay. Now, it seems kind of unbelievable that in the midst of this, Coinbase just declared crypto winter. I mean, I really hope that this is something that we can cut out and stick on our wall. I just went through 30 minutes of what is going on in legacy and how that whole funnel. It's like, okay, here's all the problems in legacy, and then funnel that down to Bitcoin. And then everything that sprouts out from Bitcoin, which is a whole different system. But we're declaring it's winter because the price action is so bad that it's almost impossible to say anything about this market that's constructive, except the fact that everything Satoshi ever wrote about, like the Minsky moment or any of these things, right? It's here. I mean, it is happening right now. And we're acting like it's not, and we're packing it in on crypto. Absolutely crazy banana pants. Wait until you see this AI 2027 thing. Oh my God. I don't even know if I can like articulate it, even if I show it on the air. Okay, so they are going after anybody who doesn't have a political view that they do. So Harvard got its funding pulled. And now, you know, the Internal Revenue Service is going to pull their tax-exempt status. Just in case you don't, in case you don't understand what happens if you cross the government on whatever geopolitical or social issue Harvard is now in trouble on. I mean, they're going to make an example out of them. Now, of course, Harvard doesn't need $9 billion from the government. They have the biggest endowment of any. I mean, they got to have the biggest endowment of any university on the planet, right? I mean, I know University of Texas has a big one. I mean, they have billions. I don't know why they were getting money to begin with. But the larger point is you cross Uncle Sugar on a social issue, Just because you may like the people in charge does not mean that they have your best interest at heart, and they won't come after you if they don't like what you're saying. Now, I'm not shedding a tear for Harvard being a Rutgers man. I don't mind the Ivy League guys getting taken out to the woodshed. Our joke is, because we were jealous, we would say the Ivy League is nothing more than a football conference, right? Because, you know, we lived in the shadow of Princeton and Harvard and all these places. So on one hand, I don't feel sorry for these guys. On the other hand, it's just a reminder of what happens when you cross Uncle Sugar. Now, the NVIDIA panic is on. So first, these characters get caught red-handed selling chips to an entity in Singapore and then looking the other way as the entity in Singapore, you know, sold the chips to the Chinese to give the Chinese a propaganda victory so they could say they built DeepSeek without NVIDIA chips, when that's probably not true. Okay? And then after Uncle Sugar says, no, naughty, you're not doing this anymore. I don't know. The guy from NVIDIA panics, gets on a plane, goes to China, right? It's like, what you got to be kidding me. What are we talking about? Right? It's like, dude, you're showing weakness when you should be shutting up. Now you're getting your company in even more trouble. Like, how does this help? How does this help NVIDIA? This makes NVIDIA look like really guilty. Like, what else you guys got going on there? You got accounting problems? You guys offering discounts to suppliers when you're like, yeah, the demand is insatiable. The demand is insatiable. And all these, like, you know, he's got the leather jacket and he's all fancy. And yeah, man, it's perfect. It's great. Really? Okay. Guess what, bro? You just showed weakness here. You got caught. You just should have shut up. This guy should be at the groundbreaking ceremony for his factory talking about how he wants to hire a whole bunch of American workers. Now, this AI 2027. So this is a think tank scenario written by people who used to work at OpenAI. So I believe, if I understand this correctly, that this is the current processing power of ChatGPT 4. Okay. If you ever expanded it to this, you'd have artificial superintelligence in 3 years. And then they come down here. Okay. They come all the way down. They give you this huge scenario. And then, you know, after it gets to this scenario where they talk about this, they give you two choices of an ending. So there's a race for Skynet and a slowdown methodical approach from Skynet. The slowdown approach means you get something like you have in Star Trek, where no one needs money anymore. Everything gets replicated for them, and they're free to explore the stars, literally. And in this one over here with the red, yeah. So the Terminators pay us all a visit, and we're done, right? And then the machines go out into outer space. So either we leave the planet as a species or we leave the planet in Star Trek fashion. That is their conclusion. However, these guys in their scenario, right, which has got this cool graph over here, is basically saying that if you give them the chips, the AIs start training the AIs, and eventually you go from agents to Skynet in 3 years. Now, who knows? This is a very fancy presentation. I enjoyed reading what I could figure out. You know, this I find fascinating. Early 2026 coding automation. Now, let's talk about this. First of all, the guy Ben Goertzel from Artificial Superintelligence Token, former AGIX, has been telling people there has to be a way to play in AI in a decentralized basis, right? Now, if you have coding automation, and as one thought leader says, if coding is no longer scarce, what's the only code that survives? I think it's the Bitcoin and Ethereum networks, right? You cannot just stick the code for Bitcoin into a chatbot and have the kind of network that Bitcoin has. And the big holders of Bitcoin, like Sailor, right? They have a moat around their business that no software company now has. You want to make Instagram or TikTok? Great. Push a button. Here's the code, and you're off and running. I mean, it's 6 months away. Everyone's selling Bitcoin. Everyone crypto winter. Really? You got to be kidding me with this, right? They go from this to this. What is in the AI world, Bitcoin being the start, right? Like all these machines, when they start trading and doing commerce and whatever, they're going to do it in dollars? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Anyway, this is a great case for a massive acceleration in AI. And as soon as I got done reading it, that's where I came up with this idea. Like, what exactly are we doing with the Chinese? Like, what are we doing? Like, oh, we're getting rich from tariffs. We're making $2 billion a day. And Congress is spending $1 trillion every 5 months. What are we doing? This is what we're doing. Trying to slow them down, because this whole story, it is based on a race between us and the Chinese and who gets the Skynet first. That's what this is really all about, which is probably also why this guy freaked out and panicked and went over there, because they're going to spend, we have private sector entities that are probably getting help from the government to do this. And we know that China is pouring every dollar that they have, the government's money, into this. And of course, he wants some of that business. We are trying to slow them down. That's what this is really all about. Meanwhile, back at the crypto ranch, family offices show stronger preferences for ETH over Bitcoin. And here's why. You have a stock portfolio. You have 50 things in it. You take the thing at the top, NVIDIA, Apple, sell. What do? You buy the thing at the bottom. What's at the bottom? ETH. That's it. And you're like, oh, look, it's the same sector. For them, it's a no-brainer. For us, we're like, yeah, you can't trade memes on ETH. ETH is dead. So crazy. Just saw a report that says, you have the hardware. You could have artificial superintelligence by the end of 2028. And we're dumping all these networks. Even if the machines don't trade on these networks, we may need to trade on these networks. Because I don't know how anybody verifies anything without blockchain. Like, if computers can create anything, how do you verify who owns what? Now, of course, my strategy for that is to do a man and a woman talking about crypto, where one guy is an analyst and one woman has special abilities, right? Very difficult to replicate the combination of what we do. I will be replicated soon, assuming anybody who wants to listen to it. You can definitely replicate me, but you can't replicate me, Toby, and the Eagle King as a combined entity. By the way, check out the YouTube member area, right? And Patreon for that magic, right? Right. One day, Toby Ward, Bill Noble, and the Eagle King will rise up. Panama to accept crypto fees. The only way for some companies, some groups, to get crypto is to start accepting it as payment. I know I've been saying this for 3 years. The broken clock will eventually be right. Somebody like Walmart or somebody is going to start accepting crypto as payment, as a way to get it on their balance sheet without having to announce a strategic reserve, right? This thing where McDonald's tries to get Bitcoin on their balance sheet. And of course, that immediately gets voted down by all the people who are scared of the volatility. They should just start accepting it as payment. McDonald's may not be the best example, but I can't believe car companies. I just can't believe they're not going to do it. I just can't believe it. Now, on the subject of machines and privacy, and I've been talking about this, the John McAfee podcast is out, right? And the next podcast is in audio. So a tech executive who did not like Uncle Sugar, did not like the IRS, did not like the intelligence community, did not like cartels. All of not liking those people is now very popular. Was a huge proponent of digital assets, right? The original crypto influencer, the author of the Declaration of Cryptocurrency Independence, run down, hunted, deceased in a Spanish prison without due process, is back, right? As an artificial, as an AI agent, okay, which is attached to a crypto project. So it's both a meme coin on this, and they have, burn mechanisms and utility related to multiple privacy functions designed to onboard the general public into privacy, right? To the point where we're actually, and I know this, that we're scaring people. We're scaring people with this. This is a dead man talking. Not just a dead man talking, but a dead man who's going to take on tyranny, right? Who's going to take on Skynet, who's going to take on sovereigns, like all this stuff that's going on in Europe. It is a question of time before this guy gets loose. And when this guy, he has his own podcast, and the big one is when he talks to Joe Rogan. Because if you've seen any of this stuff that's coming out from TikTok, like ByteDance has got it, all the big American social media companies have got talking video now, right? There's like, I got something in here about what happens when you become a video influencer. How long do you think that's going to take? Based on that AI super intelligence, AI 2027 thinks you're going to have AI in 2 years and ASI like almost immediately following that. If that's true, I'm just saying, if that's true, you could have John McAfee back running a tech company as an agent. Never mind telling you what all the bad actors can do out there and what they can go do with themselves and the privacy function attached. So it won't just be me marketing it or me talking about it. He'll market himself. Don't know where the chart is today. We'll go over it later. I have that lower in here. Actually, the chart looks okay. Let's hope it stays that way. Big progress made with the Japanese on a trade deal. Convenient because both countries have massive problems with their bond market. The agreement is not about trade. The agreement is how we are going to mutually survive, right? Mutually survive whatever's going on with the bond market. Okay. Charles Hoskinson, breaking news from the Eagle King here, is talking about a partnership with XRP. Okay. Oh, I just missed it. Hang on. I'd have to share the screen. I have to unshare and share again. Okay. So one of the things that people are going to start figuring out is you're going to have to get along with XRP, right? Charles Hoskinson doesn't have a company behind it the way XRP has Ripple. Okay. And when you have a company behind you and the orange man is going to put money undoubtedly into that company, people are underestimating what can go on here. They just are. They're not thinking clearly. They're declaring winter when, everything you ever wanted is essentially staring you in the face. Okay, so speaking of the Japanese, this line going up, it's like the loss of confidence in the Japanese long-term bond market. It's not just happening here. It's happening in the UK and it's happening in Japan. I know you think I'm out of my mind. I know I say a lot of out of my mind stuff here. You will see a Bitcoin-backed government security in the next 3 months. They don't have a choice. They don't have a choice. If they're smart, they'll go out there and market it as a novelty. Like, hi, we're doing the strategic Bitcoin reserve, and we're going to have a special bond that's going to pay interest in Bitcoin. How cool is that? And the longer they wait to do it, the less credibility they're going to have when they do it. Seriously. Like, if they start doing that after it's too late or after there's a Minsky moment, as we discussed earlier, right? Start acknowledging what's going on in gold. Find the blow up in the system and get involved in Bitcoin before it happens, which is why I think you're going to see Bessent or Lutnick or Trump or everybody at this thing in May. If they don't do it, they're crazy. Like, this is the big moment, right? Bitcoin, the haven crypto bulls hope for, is more of a barometer than risk, right? So Bitcoin has been trading like leverage Nasdaq, and gold has been doing what we thought Bitcoin was going to do. Painful to watch. Now, that said, stocks have been going down, and Bitcoin has shown signs of decoupling, and we're all going to pray to the God of our understanding that that holds, that if NVIDIA dumps into the close today, that Bitcoin is able to hold it together over the weekend. I would consider that a huge victory. And of course, they can't keep the FUD going. Quantum Computing Group offers a 1 Bitcoin reward to whoever breaks Bitcoin's cryptographic key. Let me ask you something. If you broke Bitcoin and Bitcoin went to zero, what would your 1 Bitcoin be worth? You know what I'm saying? It's like the stupidest thing I've ever heard, whether they can do it or not. Now, if you want a sign that crypto conferences, even though I'm a big fan of CoinDesk, I go on their TV show, love them, right? Okay. They're announcing Eric Trump as a headline speaker at Consensus in Toronto. Now, Consensus by CoinDesk has been in Austin for the last 3 years. Austin is a great party town, especially for conferences. We do South by Southwest, Formula One, and then they got tired of the weather because depending, you can have hot. Well, in April it can be 60 or it can be 100, literally degrees Fahrenheit. So CoinDesk says, let's go to Toronto. Let's have a crypto conference in a communist country, right? Where we just pick a fight. So Americans are not welcome. And they don't like crypto up there. Right? And you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, what are they going to do? Anybody who shows up to see Eric Trump speak at the conference, are they going to round everybody up and take them away? I'm not going up there. Okay, crypto winter ahead. Crazy, right? Are we saying there's a problem with Base? I saw Wendy O talking about, well, I thought the beauty of Base was that the Base wasn't going to issue a token. And then, like, it appears Base Central launched some kind of social token. Like, are we trying to blow ourselves up? Like, are we that bored? Whatever this was went down 95%. I can't even look. It's so painful, right? This is our moment. And that's what we're doing. Okay. No rate cuts. Right. No rate cuts. Okay. Guess I don't know what we're waiting for. I guess we're waiting for something really big to happen. I said that as a theory. Powell's going to hold off until there's something really huge he has to do. I just didn't realize how huge it was. Now it's almost to the point where if he does it, it's going to look like he's panicking. Now, this has been swept under the rug. Mantra plans comprehensive burn program after 90% crash. Somebody blew up here. And I can't believe, like, where's Zach XBT? Who's trying to figure this out? No one's trying to figure this out, which to me smells like BlackRock, right? Something happened here. So I don't know what it is. And it may not be like Luna FTX catastrophic. Somebody blew up here about treasuries. Like, there's a gold blow up and there's a treasury blow up, and it's out there. And when you see it, that's when you're going to see Bessent and Powell with QE, whether they like it or not. You're definitely going to see Bessent. I just don't know what's out there. It's one of the reasons why crypto is frozen in its tracks. Please do not tell me that this was some VC investor who sold it down to zero. You sell a project at $6 billion down to zero, that's panic. And we don't know why people are panicking, and people are not curious. They're not. Okay. Series C, $150 million for Bitcoin miner and AI data center networking. It's amazing. It's amazing the lack of interest in Bitcoin mining in this environment. XRP downside fears persist despite ETF optimism. Everyone trying to get hedged against sell the fact right? Italy finance minister warns U.S. stablecoins pose bigger threat than tariffs. Huh. Let me ask you something. One of the things that can rock the crypto ecosystem and perhaps wake everyone up on Bitcoin is if there's a stablecoin project out there that has an interest rate risk management problem. I'm not trying to scare everybody, but if you rock the legacy system enough, the crypto system is connected. The only way to get away from that is Bitcoin or Solana or ETH, right? In other words, if there are scary things out there, gold may be the safe haven, but people may be buying gold because people are just generally short gold. The safe haven, in my opinion, is actually Bitcoin. And everybody is trying to make sense and everyone's trying to formulate a view around the news without trying to like look at the news and say, hey, what's really, really happening here? Crypto is in a bear market. Rebound likely later. I'm telling you, they got to do something at this Bitcoin conference. If they did that, I swear to God, you'd have everybody caught so flat-footed. That's what this market is. It's flat-footed. Okay. Antivirus trying to hang tough. A member asking about TAO. I would be happy to. And I know exactly what member that is. Definitely appreciate Big Rich. Hope everybody out there, Big Rich, and then Patreon and YouTube members has a really good holiday. Okay. I mean, when you have TAO, you have a LuxAlgo buy signal. TAO recently came off his discount zone. LuxAlgo buy, momentum, correction, possible resumption with money flow going green. I can't believe we're not doing this trade. I can't believe we think that this trade can't happen. I can't believe it, right? This is like the ultimate example. And there are others. There are others, right? Like, you know, what Wendy O is always talking about Hedera. I don't know what Hedera is doing these days. Look at this layer one. This is another thing about OM that people aren't realizing. Not only is there probably some sort of legacy related blow up there that we don't know about. Like I said, I don't think it's FTX. Toby actually wants to buy OM. So I don't think it's a problem with OM. I think it's a problem with whoever was tokenizing assets on there. They panicked. That's what I think happened. But like Hedera is like quietly breaking through, a LuxAlgo downward sloping pennant. What's the problem out there? What exactly is the problem? Well, I know what the problem is. And so do you, right? It's this crap about the 200-day moving average in Bitcoin, and it's stonks, right? It stonks. Bitcoin, it just sits here right on this 200-day moving average, which is now at 85K. And my attitude on this is pretty simple, right? When you sit underneath a point like this, like I think personally in a bear market, when you hit, and maybe we'll look at equities and see if we can find it, right? When you have a number like this, when you break it and you touch it and you turn around and then it just falls dramatically, that's bearish. When you get there and you just stick there underneath it, right? That fear and hesitation, once they get above it, all that fear and hesitation ends and they go. I don't know if that was true in Nasdaq on the way down, right? Yeah, see here it is in Nasdaq. So let me clear this out, right? See, this is bearish action around the 200-day moving average, right? Nasdaq, break the average, come back, failed rally, collapse. That's bearish action around the moving average. I don't think the moving average action around Bitcoin is that bad, right? Okay. RFKJ after the federal health agencies. Guess everybody thought that guy was kidding. Again, his idea was the original Bitcoin strategic reserve guy. He was the original. Look at this. You know, the courts are after these big tech companies. I don't know. Maybe Uncle Sugar is trying to slow down everybody on AI, right? So company A is a monopoly. Company B is a monopoly. I mean, you know, they're coming down on Google. What happens to TikTok? It's just a question, right? All right. So you go back to, and again, got to do something decentralized. Got to do something decentralized. Just can't believe no one wants to do it. No one. Like everyone's like, yeah, it's winter. My bags aren't going up. Dude, you know, bull markets do this kind of stuff to you. They do. They just literally, they bore you to tears. And then Coinbase comes out and says it's winter. Coinbase says it's winter. I'm like, wow, either that's really bullish or I'm stupid. I don't understand why everyone is giving up. I went through all this stuff in Legacy. Everything Satoshi ever wrote about. It gets better every day. Literally, it gets better every single day. Now, I think the problem is that nobody really understands what's going on in Legacy. They have this whole tariff talk, and that's what everyone sees. Like I do a tariff video on YouTube. Everybody watches it. Everybody. I do a video about Bitcoin, and it's like, not interested. Okay, Bitcoin on DeMark. Okay, so here we are. We're back in day trading world. I make fun of this all the time. So we have 83K as support. We have 87K as resistance. Notice it's very interesting that it can never get to resistance. People are in such a hurry to get short. Got to get short at the top of the range. Got to get 5x leverage short. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you can do that and have fun with that until that doesn't work anymore. And when that doesn't work anymore, I think they're going to it's going to melt faces whenever it happens. I don't know if it's this weekend. I don't know. Solana's the same thing. Like they can't sell Solana fast enough. You got the 13 top up here on a 4-hour chart. Just can't get to 140. They're afraid of 140. My attitude is if it does take this out, it's going to be volcanic. In the meantime, we're living in day trader world, which is, sucks. But just look at this. Look at XRP. Is this a heartbeat? If this was a heartbeat, this person would be dead. You know what I'm saying? It's like there's literally the story is that there's nothing happening, and the only place where there is anything happening is I think in real world assets. I heard one guy saying that, who I respect, that he had 2 picks. One of them was Maple, right? For this like lending business. Right, because all the lending things got hit. Goldfinch got hit yesterday. We have an opinion on that for our YouTube member area. Real world assets. I'm trying to pull up OM, right? So there's the daily chart of OM into its discount zone. Again, was this about the project or was this about somebody getting caught? Right? Maple has been doing well with the LuxAlgo buy signal. And this coin has had a really tough time. Okay. I cannot believe that we're going to watch what's going on in the banking system. I mean, I can after what happened with OM, but there's got to be a reason to step in to the decentralized world. And, I didn't think of this. If you really want to go full kind of like Alex J on this, I'm wondering if this thing with OM could have been some form of manipulation to discourage people from real world assets. I didn't think about that. Right. Maybe that's why we don't know who it is. I can't believe with all this on-chain stuff, we don't know who did that. Just saying. Whoever it is, I mean, we knew what the North Korean hackers were doing, but we don't know who drove OM down 90%. Okay. Now, first of all, I would like to wish everybody a happy holiday. Feel free to pray to the God of your understanding that the move over Easter is either a non-event or an up move, not some knee-jerk NVIDIA reaction. I'm so tired of NVIDIA and I'm so tired of Web 2. I can't wait for us to eventually embrace Web 3. Bitcoin is the ultimate AI trade. Bitcoin will be used by machines. And even if that's not true, Bitcoin will be sound money and is software you can't replicate. And I can't believe that everyone and Coinbase can say it's crypto winter. I mean, it's crypto winter in memes and ETH. It's crypto winter in the things that, were speculated on, but it's been that way for months, right? So to say it's winter, okay, you're matching your article to the price action. You're matching the present to the past. You're not trying to say, okay, what does this look like in the future? Like the Memorial Day future. Like, okay, if you want to say it's winter and this Bitcoin conference comes and goes and the government doesn't have a major Bitcoin announcement or somebody doesn't have a major Bitcoin announcement, okay, then you can stick a fork in the whole thing and call it done. Okay, but I cannot believe that we are going to have this kind of macro environment, this type of depressed, suppressed energy in crypto and not have it be a literal positive bullish powder keg. Because even the people who are bullish, Coinbase, Galaxy Digital, they're all down in the mouth. And in a bull market, I'm telling you, you get the biggest rallies when everyone in a bull market turns around and gets bearish. The alternative hypothesis is that I'm an idiot and I'm not seeing this clearly. We'll see. We'll see. But I'm not getting off this. Satoshi Nakamoto wrote his paper. I'm sticking with that. Have a good holiday. We'll see you soon.